watching a Fact TV presentation of the town of Swanzey.
Yeah. Meeting minutes. There was a there instead of a there, but I've forgotten where it was. I'll let you know. I make a motion we approve the special meeting minutes of December 13th. Second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Make the motion we approve the non-public meeting minutes of December 13th. Second. All in favor? Aye. Aye. Make the motion we approve the regular meeting minutes of December 20th. Second. And your discussion, the Wilson Pond dams, it said 4 1/5 boards and 5 1/5 boards. It was
Yeah,
and a half.
it should be,
Instead of 1/5, it should be 1/2.
oh, okay,
There were 5s instead of 2s
1/2
in a couple
instead
places.
of
1/5.
1/5. Okay, I'll look it up.
Anything else? All in favor? Aye. Make the motion we approve the non-public meeting minutes 1 and 2 of December 20th. Second. All in favor? Aye. Make the motion we approve the consent agenda. Second. Anything further, Mike?
No.
All in favor? Aye. Aye. Public input.
Mark Scalera, from Wilson Pond. Thank you for moving that final board. It took about 3, 4, 5 days at the most for that water to go down. I'm sure that water was traveling through that pipe from the 32 with some force. The water is down. I do have one question, and I'm just curious as to if there's a reason why the boards were actually removed off premise. Those boards usually sit in that metal cage, and there's no boards in there. So they were removed, and I'm not sure there's a reason to be for that. Hopefully there is a reason, because I think transparency is important here.
Yeah, hopefully he's just doing maintenance on them or something. I don't know.
I'm not sure what they usually do on wet boards, but just a question.
Yep. We'll ask him.
I also wanted to thank you for all your work there. Very much.
Looks more normal now for winter, doesn't it?
It does.
Anything further? Gary?
I'll just make one more comment. So it is, the reason it's important for the water to go down consistently is, you think about it, that water was up for an additional 2 months from the normal process. When these fish and these pearls and stuff, they're trying to find a place to burrow themselves, if the water's up and they've already done it and now it's down, they can be in jeopardy. So it is important for this to be a very smooth process in the future.
Thank you. Mike Gamarlo.
Right.
I want to get rid of the stagecoach and some horses, or?
Well, I don't have the horses. I got a stagecoach. Back in 1987, the Browns loaned the town of Swanzey their stagecoach. And that stagecoach, Tim Brown bought it when he bought the Red Barn Field at top of Christian Hill. And in that barn was the stagecoach that belonged to Ellie Whitcomb. And it sits down in our museum now since 1987. And finally, this last year, I was able to convince NBC that it's time to give it to the town of Swanzey and to the museum that's at Brownfield. And so I'm here to get the approval of the selectmen tonight to accept the stagecoach that's been there since '87 as a gift from the Brown family in honor of Tim Brown. Here's the signature of NBC signing off. And this is the original, I'm sorry, I should have made a couple of copies of the original loan of the stagecoach, which is over here.
We have to have a public hearing.
And for those who don't know, what is NBC?
Nancy Babs and Cynthia.
Thank you.
No, I don't think it's necessary because we don't have, there's no appraised value, or, so I was asking if our public hearing was required. Since there's no appraised value and it's something in our possession, I think we can just proceed with accepting the donation of property.
Thank you. At least thank NBC.
Thank NBC. They'd like to sign off.
bet they would.
And have you sign on.
Thank you.
And if you could make a vote to say that you've accepted it, and then I'll pick that up in the minutes, and I'll return those minutes to NBC, and they'll thank you.
I'll make the motion with gratitude.
Second? In favor?
Aye.
Aye. Got 2 out of 3.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
So do we.
It's been about 35 years I've been trying to do this.
Thank you.
Another success story.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Have a good night.
New business. Fire chief job posting. Look good?
Very good. We can proceed with getting that posted then, and soliciting letters of interest for the screening panel.
I like your idea of 5 to 7.
Yes.
7 meet.
We greatly appreciate all the enthusiasm last time, but it gets to a point where it gets a little unwieldy.
Yeah.
So makes it, you have to, if you've got 12 people, everyone gets like half a question, so it makes it kind of challenging to, follow up on questions and different things. So I think a smaller targeted technical group would be ideal.
Would you like to make that motion?
So moved.
I'll second it. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Do you have a fire chief in mind?
We had a couple options.
Have you reached out or?
Not yet, no.
Old business, wastewater treatment plant operations contract with WSO Plus.
So we had tabled this at the last meeting. I did confirm, so the main question was if we wanted to terminate the contract earlier, was that an option? I didn't have all the contract terms here, which I did include in here in the packet this time, and it does talk about for no cause termination, the owner may terminate at any time with 30 days notice. So I think that covers the concern. I also think I had a discussion with Joe and also Bill about the kind of the timeline, best case scenario realistically, if everything goes great with our employees that are working on getting licensed, we're probably 5 years away. So I don't think that should be an issue in this term anyway, but we do have the option of something great, we're able to, we're come to pass. We do have the option to get out sooner if we needed to.
Very good.
And they've been very accommodating and good to work with.
Well, having an understanding, which I didn't have last time, of the certifications needed and the timing that's required to get the advanced certification, there's no way that we could do less than 3 years.
Right.
And protect the town. You want a motion?
Yes, please.
Make the motion that we authorize town administrator to sign the operations contract with WSO Plus.
For the term ending December 31, 2026.
Yes, please.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. 2024 budget.
So the main kind of outstanding discussion item was about the agencies. We had talked about funding those as separate warrant articles. I gave, just to give you kind of, that's an extra one. I gave you those. Give you a little snapshot of what some of the calculations are looking like when we get to the budget hearing, so you're not totally taken off guard. We're looking at a similar increase to appropriation as we had last year. Joe was we were able to cut a little bit more out of the paving lines, thanks to some of those additional one-time state funds. We're still budgeting more than last year, so it's not like we're cutting back and not continuing to get more work done, but we're able to cut that back a little bit more. But I know you talked about having the agencies funded at their full request amount, which would be another 25,000. I just really think, based on the increases we're already looking at, it's not a huge amount in the total scheme of things, but it is just one more increase. Maybe if you wanted to have the additional funding be in a separate article and keep them as they have been in the operating budget, but I think you're running the risk by going with the higher amount that, A, it's gonna get approved, and then Cordell had raised some concerns about why maybe that might not be something you want to do in terms of breaking those out. Again, I do know other towns do it. I do think it's more common in town meeting towns versus SB2 towns. So that's my kind of pitch, that you'll keep them, at least the ones that you have been funding at the amounts you've been funding in the budget. And that if you'd like to maybe have the additional funding or the new ones in a warrant article, maybe do it that way.
I know my concern was the large increase in request from some of the agencies. I think anybody under 5,000 really, I don't see an issue with them, but when we're getting up over 20,000, I think it's important for members of the town to know what the amount is that's being requested and the amount that they're funding, whether they agree to or disagree. I think it's only fair that they understand. If we put it in the budget, then I think we go in with what we funded last year, because those are pretty sizable increases. Not to say they're not justifiable,
Right.
but they're pretty substantial. And of course, I did say to I've forgotten which one, the kids one, that they were asking for 1,500, and I did blurt out, why don't you ask for 2,000? Just because it just seems like that's a minuscule amount for the children, but.
I think Sly ruled that comment out of order.
Did he? Yeah, okay, good. So I could have,
He said.
okay, so I could have just kept quiet on that then, couldn't I? So anyway, but I do think that the larger ones, I guess, maybe if we discuss them individually, I just would like it to be discussed, so people know what, that A, we're being asked for, and B, we are contributing.
I think by breaking them out, you run the risk that that's the only thing we'll discuss. Or, we'll spend an hour, each one of them will get up and give a 10-minute presentation about the good work they do, but, yeah, I think I can, how about I try to work it into the PowerPoint?
And leave it off the warrant article?
Yeah.
I did, at the time, didn't know how many warrant articles we were gonna have either.
Right.
Holy cow. Boy, the planning board's been hard at work.
They've been planning their hearts out.
Oh, my God. I think with some contributions from the public, and they make sense, there's a lot there.
Correct. So keep in the budget at the amounts previously funded, and then, they can always make their pitch at either the budget hearing or deliberative for the increase. So that keeps the door open, and that will have the discussion that you're looking for.
Yeah, I'll be fine with that.
Good, thank you.
Anything else on that?
On the budget,
Budget, bond hearing, warrant?
I think warrant related, I think members of the Preservation Society and/or Grange Hall Committee were here to maybe discuss something.
Not a member of this group, but I'm doing it. We got one to collect. So, it went for the big grant, didn't work out. So myself, Norm, and the other two committees kind of got together and thought about what does the building actually need currently. And so one of the things that happened this year, they recognized during the music fest, unfortunately, was the roof started to physically leak to where we could see it. I think everybody pretty much understands that it doesn't matter where you live, but in New England in particular, if the building starts to get wet, the building will die pretty darn quickly. It can't be getting wet. So I was talking to Norm about, well, maybe we could patch the roof, and I'm looking at the roof. And we all know that the superstructure's been failing for a long time. That hasn't gotten any better. And I'm afraid if somebody were to try to get up on the roof and fix it, they'd almost do as much damage or more damage just by actually standing on it, because the shingles are in such poor condition, especially on the back side of the structure where it appears to be leaking. So I went through and tried to figure out roughly how much putting a roof on that building would be, and keeping in mind that when I talk about putting a roof on that building, we're talking about doing like we did on Town Hall, and that's all of it. The shingles, the sheathing, the rafters, everything, right down to the top plates. Put on trusses, new sheathing, new roofing, preferably metal. I always try to go metal. And the basic number, which has not been verified by potential vendors, there's a very big disclaimer on this. I came up with around $80,000. I looked at it again today to see how I felt about the number, because it seemed kind of reasonable. And numbers these days aren't reasonable, so we'd have to verify that, but I think that's where we are with that. The windows, I mean, they're physically falling out of the building. There's just no way around that. We have 25 windows that need to be replaced. I put $1,500 on each of those. I'm having a hard time getting anybody to actually look at them. Between everybody being busy, the companies that I talked to before, half of them no longer in business. Unless you have money in hand, you're just not talking to people. And then last but not least, there's an eave drain in the back of it. The water continues to infiltrate the basement at a rate, and it needs a drain. It's always needed a drain. And I put in a number that would allow us to hire subcontractors. We had, the DPW couldn't get it, volunteers couldn't get it, we could sub it out and get it. You know, you add all that together and you're looking at around $125,000. And I kind of wanted to approach the select board with this, because in conversations with them, the budget hearings come in and they're going to want to talk about this budget hearing. You guys have a little bit of a heads up of what we're thinking. The goal is these three items, I'm sure you recognize, are all about keeping the building drier, trying to keep it dry. It seems more than once that we've been at an inflection point with this structure, and we're here again because it's getting wet, and it's going to start to suffer some real damage. And that's really kind of where we're at with that. So these are the basic numbers that we came up with. I'll leave it up to the committee and the rest of them to kind of make their case and the rest of that, but you know, like I said, I worked with them to try to come up with a number to give the voters ultimately a legitimate idea of what they'd be getting for their money without spending A, an inordinate amount of time, and B, again, not being able to get a lot of help from potential vendors on this thing. Nobody's, and it just, it's really hard.
Is the metal roof anticipated standing seam?
Yeah.
Like Town Hall? Can you provide specs on the windows, what you're thinking?
They would be in kind. They would look, I mean, they would be, I mean, there are these windows right here, so it would be the same. It wouldn't be double pane, it wouldn't be energy efficient, it would be maintaining the historic. And so the ones that could be repaired, renovated, and saved, the glass, certainly want to save the wavy glass, they'd be reusing that glass. They may be making them out of whole cloth because they're in such poor condition, quite honestly. But the expectation is that everything would be replaced as it is now, so it looks now, to maintain historic preservation and the potential money that goes with that.
And what are the restrictions that come along with that as well?
I'm gonna leave that more to these guys. What that is but my experience is the restriction is you've got to maintain, just like we did here. You've got to keep everything as best you can the way it was, using what was here. And you can't like faux it up, you can't put in like a brand new top of the line double hung that looks like that, they don't want that. They want that, and they want something completely different, because it had to be completely different. We went through that with the railings and the railing upstairs and a bunch of other different things. It's been what we've dealt with in the past with this building anyway, was don't faux it, don't try to make it look old, don't go for that. So it's either original old, brand new, and they're not gonna want windows that are brand new. It's not gonna want that.
Who is they?
The overseers of the historical stuff, the historical money and the rest of that stuff, and that. I mean, it's, whenever you enter, it's always a risky game to enter a building into historical preservation, because you've chosen your path, it's historical preservation. And that's always the danger of it, when you get that in there. I mean, I know that in my own time as a selectman, that we had a building in Ballast Pool, I maybe remember Ballast Pool, but it's a historic little recreation area, and they got it, on the registry, and everybody was excited about it, but it really held us back on making a lot of the changes that building needed for safety and nothing else. It was tough.
In this building, at least, the restrictions are from New Hampshire LCHIP, because they were a large funder.
Yeah.
So I think what Mike's talking about is, trying to keep their standards in mind, even though that they haven't necessarily, well, they funded the study that was conducted. They helped with the architectural study, but it doesn't have any restrictions on it from them currently. But if you went down that path of looking for funding, and you did a bunch of stuff that they're not gonna like, you're probably not gonna have a skill shot about anything.
So, are we on that path and we can't get off it?
Well, you can always get off it. I mean, it's kind of a different discussion. That I couldn't bring anything to that discussion tonight that would be that helpful. It would all be assumptions and conjecture of no use whatsoever. We could talk about what that would look like and what that would free you up on. But we'd have to do some math on that, and we'd have to make a lot of phone calls to try to figure out what that looks like.
It just seems from a practical standpoint that it would be best to look at comparable windows that are double pane or triple pane, since if the building is ultimately restored, it's essentially going to be rebuilt. And with obviously modern insulation materials and all that goes with it, maybe some furring to get the depth in the walls needed to provide adequate insulation. So why wouldn't we do, what would be the drawback to doing 2 or 3 pane windows that are, I don't know, in this case, 2/2s or 6/6s?
Again, I'd have to make some phone calls and do some research and try to answer that question properly. I don't have enough knowledge right now. It would be irresponsible.
From a funding standpoint, we know that if we go down the path, there's certain funding mechanisms that are available that wouldn't be available if we followed the new window.
Yeah, I mean, it's always a weird thing, right? Because, yes, there's definitely some funding that probably wouldn't be available. Does that mean that we wouldn't be eligible for other funding? I honestly don't know where they are with it right now. They spend a lot of time, a lot of energy, looking at funding, different funding sources. They have a much better grip on it. They've met with the people, and I leave it to them to answer those questions if able. But again, we really want to, how about this? That money would take care of proper windows as well. The $1,500 a hole, which is basically what I figured, it would take care of almost any window. So right now, what I'm really trying to present is a financial placeholder more than a solution for what we're actually going to do.
That's been the conundrum right from the get-go. What are we going to do?
I'm
What's the
familiar with
solution?
that conundrum.
What's the use? That's always been the conundrum, but one of the uses I think my colleague has brought up is additional town hall space for different departments. And that's really what led me to the question with regard to windows, because we know what it's like to have people in the current town hall
Yeah.
with inefficiencies with the windows that are there,
Right.
and what we tried to do to make it relatively comfortable, knowing that we can't,
Right.
but doing the best we can.
Right, right.
So if one of the uses of that building is an annex for town hall,
Right.
then we're gonna have the same
Right.
situation.
Well, it's just, I mean, you know, all of that aside, I mean, just operational costs are always the real thing, right? I mean, getting it done and getting it built and getting it renovated is one thing, but then, you know, going in and trying to keep it as efficient as possible for the future generations. So I'm hearing you there. Like I said, when they, again, they're here, they can talk about it much more eloquently than I can. They work much harder on this than I certainly have. But I gotta tell you, that whole coffee thing, it was really, it was pretty cool to be in town hall, look across there and see 13, 14, 15 cars, and other people were in there. And then some of those people, when they got done, they'd come over and they'd register the car or the dog, and they were talking about it. And it was a group of folks getting together, an eclectic group of folks together. They wouldn't necessarily normally get together and sharing ideas and talking about stuff, and that's a pretty good thing to have today. That's a pretty awesome thing to have. So I thought it was pretty cool. I was really glad to see that it was as successful as it was. It definitely showed that there's a desire for that. The community's still there, and they're still moving it together, and that's awesome.
Great.
Do you foresee any difficulties with the metal roof and the non-heated building? And when the snow finally does come off?
Well, yeah, the snow coming off is a big one. Definitely gonna wanna have, the snow stops over the doorways and the rest of that stuff. Town hall, it's worked out pretty darn well, I think. I mean, I've been happy with how it's worked at town hall. And I always wanna put on there what's gonna be in the long-term best interest of the public. You know, I mean, for me, the best roof would be slate, but, you know, we're not gonna afford slate. They clearly last as long as dollar for dollar, it's hard to beat it. But metal's the next best thing.
It's just the way the driveway is out there.
Mm-hmm.
The whole
What?
driveway is gonna be.
No, those lilac bushes are gonna suffer. But, again, I mean, that roof on there isn't that old, it's only about a 20-year-old roof. And I checked with Richard Scaramelli, and we couldn't quite figure out, find bills or any stuff. But Richard knew right when it was done and who did it and the rest of it. And I don't have we could definitely go shingles. But, again, it's a great placeholder, if nothing else, right? We've got the placeholder. And if we gotta get in, then we get in, and we go for something a little more affordable this time around. But the roof will certainly be better and structurally competent. I priced it with the idea of an attic truss, so that if we have to put mechanical equipment in it, we can a lot easier than we would otherwise. Of course, you'll have to pitch the same for the same reasons, but you'll still be able to work inside it. You know, relatively low in comparison. You guys got anything?
I just would say this, Norm Scanson stuff, on the town advisory committee and member of SPS. The window issue, just to be more clear on that, we had New Hampshire Preservation Society come out and actually analyze and look at the windows and kind of get an idea of whether they were worth restoring. They felt it was very restorable and that it would add to the features of the building to restore the windows. It would also, as far as grants go, we can, CDFA, which we did not get the first round, we're a candidate in the second round, and the 1772 grant, and also the Loose Plate grant are all possibilities for funding for things like the windows and other things at the building. So this could change, and we could get a grant at some point that would allow funds to be used for something else. But the whole idea behind this is, when Petrovic did the study, at that time, they said it was $1 million restoration. And of course, the only way we would get $1 million restoration would be a substantial grant. And we have not been able to qualify for that. One of the biggest reasons is that we don't have existing programs, like some of the hub towns have. A lot of the money has gone to larger communities or hub communities that serve a wider range. But if we could just do these things that actually save the building, we can continue to use it and do fundraising like the Bluegrass is an activity because we were trying to establish activity, so when the grant writers looked at that, they would say, you know, okay, you are trying to have programming, and we have a lot more ideas for programming. So I would just say that, you know, I think it's fluid. Things could change, and we have to stay in touch with you. But we're satisfied with doing, this is a great way to go because it saves the building and allows us to continue using it, even though it's not a full restoration. So, you know, I think it's a win.
And you have money available to do painting and other cosmetics?
We have
if
a
needed?
small amount of money, and I know that in the past that the Preservation Society has wanted to make contributions toward this restoration to the exact amount. I'm not sure, a lot of that depends on how the Bluegrass Festival goes, you know, going forward, but there is some funding that would be available for things like painting, right? We have actually had a donor that wants to donate approximately $10,000 toward painting if things move forward, but they don't want to donate the money if they don't think the project's going to move forward.
Sure.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
Thanks, Norm.
You're welcome.
Anything further?
Budget hearing. Deliberative session.
Well, it's really at least initially a budget hearing item because it's not on the warrant currently, so unless, has to be discussed at the budget hearing and then it could be added in by the select board, but there's not. You can change amounts at deliberative, but you can't add a purpose, so it needs to be, that's why it at least needs to be discussed. If it's gonna be approved, it needs to be discussed at the budget hearing. Similar, slightly different vein, I see slide has the color pictures there. We got the updated,
It's in there for you.
kind of architectural, just little pretty pictures to go with the fire station design, and then an updated budget and site plan are also in there. So total full cost, we're looking at 5 million to a little above, but I think we can cover the a little above, yeah. Yeah. So it's broken down. You can see the one pager version. So 33% smaller and 25% more expensive. What was that initial scheme you had, Norm? 5.2 million or something?
Same circuit, Mark.
How much smaller is it than the original version?
The original, I don't know, probably half.
For the same amount of money?
Good. Administrative update?
Couple things, I included in here, or in your, I think again, slide, maybe you have those examples. Town clerk spoke to me today about her inability to reach the moderator. She's tried through several avenues, as have I. I know Bill, you reached out to him about the upcoming training. We're not able to reach him. As we talked about, I think last meeting, the presidential primary is coming, and it's going to be a sizable effort, especially to deal with the write-ins.
3 people of the 4,
My wife will also do it.
so we're at 5.
But a lot of
Thank you.
times we have previously had people who say they're interested. I think even Jay, you mentioned that you had said you were interested before, and for some reason we're not selected. So I don't know if you want to sign this and hold off on it if you think it's too much, but I think we need to, or it's up to you, but if I were you, I would want to clearly.
You're gonna mail this or publish it in a separate?
What do you think the best avenue is?
Publish it.
Sure.
Chief Joe?
Yeah. Make sure you get that.
You live in this neighborhood, right?
I do. By extension. Yeah.
Wouldn't you share a zip code?
You'll see him at the East Swanzey post office.
Yeah, well, we used to back in the day. That was pretty cool, actually.
Yeah, a couple other things. I wanted to give a lot of credit to Pam Fortner, our health officer. We, after much effort from her, we've received what's called Prime status with Primex, which gives us a 2.5% discount on our property and liability insurance.
Nice.
So she had to really stick with it, but next step will be workers' comp, but I just wanted to make sure you're aware of that. I think Primex will actually come out and do a little dog and pony kind of congratulatory event at one of your meetings, but just wanted to let you know and, like I said, recognize her effort.
Based on the reactions that she was getting from IMAX, and I met with Pam pretty routinely, I did nothing but meet with Pam, by the way. Michael's absolutely right, she did an amazing job. We may be one of the only people that are getting this, or work that hard to try to get it, or even care to try to get it, because the answers were almost non-existent, and when she did get them, they were changed, and she really almost did their work too. It wasn't just her work, it was theirs. They were not, they're good partners in general.
In a lot of ways.
In a lot of ways, they're wonderful, but she really went above and beyond. She worked her tail off for a year and a half.
It's been a while, yeah.
And it was no small matter. Absolutely.
So this is like the risk management committee and things like that?
Yeah, it's part of that, yes,
Alright.
part of that. Policies, some of which the board's adopted over the last few years, so it's, yeah, it's a kind of a culmination of a lot of different things, but yes, it does have to do with the JLMC.
Good.
And then the final item I wanted to mention, I have kind of a draft press release, more like a website posting, but I just put it in my normal format, but you may or may not have heard that Eversource is looking at lower rates this winter, which was not expected.
Did you hear what the county came in at?
What's that?
Did you hear what the county community power came in at?
I did, but these numbers go in one ear and out the other, so you'll have to remind me.
8.5%.
8.5. So,
Or 8.5%. is what she said.
basically for the folks that are sitting here watching us read, it's just a little notice basically saying that Eversource's rates are lowering in February. It has the quoted amounts. Swanzey's plan's default rate is about 3 cents above what their new rate is going to be. That just outlines people's options. You can opt out, you can stay with our plan. We never said the plan was going to be the cheapest forever. It's been cheaper since people enrolled. Provides consistent rates, so if you jump out, you might then get hit with the increase, but we just thought it was important. We had a meeting with the other communities involved in our purchase group and the suppliers, and felt it was important to just be, again, Mark mentioned transparency earlier, just be transparent that, yes, the rate's changing, this is what it means, and these are your options, so.
The new rate's about 11.
The new Eversource rate is gonna be 8.29.
It's a little competition,
This
that's
is a far cry from the 20, was it 22? Was it?
Right, and this kind of a decrease in the winter is something we've really never seen before. They have our energy guy has a number of, speculations, warmer weather, a lot of natural gas and some different items, but it certainly was not predicted. And I do think, you mentioned that, I do think the community power aspect is a part of it. They kind of shrugged it off and said, oh, no, it's just, larger factors, but.
So how long's Eversource, are they in a 6-month cycle?
They are. So they go out to bid
Yeah,
6 months to a day, and they just got a good day, I think is part of it too.
because Swansea's plan is good till December 2025. so
Right.
it's 2.5 years.
Right, correct.
Well,
So if you peruse that and then you get an edit and you want to send it over, that'd be great, but I just wanted you to be aware of it.
I think with the letter to Bruce, we should indicate that we've engaged 5 people as counters, so that the 5 people have offered to serve will understand and know that they'll be welcome at 7 o'clock. So do we have the authority to do that?
Let's just, I'm not.
We don't have a lot of time.
No, I know. No, I'm just saying, I don't know the finer points of election law authority, because I don't really have a role in elections, so I don't know for sure. But if we tell them to be there, I mean, we pay the employees, so. Happy to word it however the board wants.
Well, I think it just we need, this doesn't require a response. So I think we need to, I didn't realize there was this degree of concern. I didn't know that how many people have been trying to reach him. So maybe there's some health issues, maybe there's something else going on that we're not aware
Certainly
of.
possible.
But we certainly have something coming up in 3 weeks that we need to be prepared for.
Right.
So I bet he's not signed up for the moderator's workshop, but if he is, then I'll see him there
When is that, Friday or Saturday?
Saturday.
The training that came out on the email is available anytime, right? It's recorded.
I believe you have to sign
You
up.
gotta sign up and
Yeah,
pay for it.
yeah. So he knows someone who's signed up that could share it with him probably.
But they could still take it anytime between now and the election.
Well, there's a bunch of training sessions that are available.
Right. Just webinar based.
Yep.
If you have suggested edits, like I said, I'm happy to, I'm trying to walk that balance of, I don't think it's gonna be well received even in that format. So I'm trying to balance get the attention, but not do more damage than,
I'll go knock on the door.
There you go.
I saw Keene is using tablets instead of hand-printed supervisors and checklists, so that you don't have to go to the person at Correspondence with your last name. You can go to any open clerk and register,
good.
check in.
That would certainly help us in November.
Instead of everybody, name begins with B, hogging that book.
We do that.
Yeah. All right, you okay with that? I'll go and knock on the
Yeah.
door tomorrow. All right, so why don't we just hold this? We'll see, try to make contact
Till
tomorrow.
tomorrow.
Take your time.
Thank you. And then finally, just wanted to do a plug. It's been kind of out there, it was in Swanzey Uncovered, just alluded to, but we're having the first kind of brainstorming session for Brownfield tomorrow night at 6 here with Stevens and Associates to kind of, this is the initial session where people talk about some of their priorities, what they'd like to see happen, and we'll kind of take those ideas, work with the consultants, and then come back with a few different site plans. So I think we're pretty excited about the potential of kind of getting Brownfield back to its former glory, so.
Great.
When is that?
Tomorrow night at 6.
Could we reuse the bathhouse design for Richardson Park for over here?
Probably,
A little modification.
yeah, probably, or something similar, depending on if we want to try to have a cook shack or something in it, but yeah, something similar.
Anything else? Any non-publics?
Nope.
Further bite of the apple? Motion to adjourn.
So moved.
All in favor?